Last year's vocational class had the unfortunate circumstance to experience my first end of the year speech. I'd like to think that I've gotten better at making those speeches, but the truth is, seriously, I doubt it. I do, however, feel confident that I've gotten better at getting to know my vocational students better than last year. So to keep this more manageable, I've decided to shorten it to just for my students that are going to be leaving us for greener toolboxes elsewhere. Grant, this has been a wild ride. You were in that group of first students. With that group, we learned together. You, a better understanding of automobiles, and me, how to make my knowledge of automotive badassery and gift it to you. Hold on to that. Just don't hold that against me in the future. Eber, in the level 1 class, I observed you, your bad attitudes, your stubbornness, which actually made me apprehensive in putting you in voc at first. Over time, though, I came to know you better and was able to see that attitude of yours was in fact not a bad attitude. It was actually passion. Passion for your family, passion for your classmates, and a passion for cars. Don't ever let go of that passion or let anyone try to rein it in. If they take time to truly get to know you, they'll see you for who you really are. Abraham, the missing student, the one I confused for Ricardo. Look, I'm sorry, but you can't complain until you get confused for the nerdy science teacher. Besides, you two are the same size, about the same shape. It's a simple mistake. You work well in a team. In fact, you held your team together. You may not know this, but when you were absent, Gerardo, Eber, and Jared got all depressed, man. They were sad. They were almost crying. To the point, I had to bring a coffee maker in just to cheer them up. Gerardo. How do I sum up Gerardo in a few cheesy sentences? The answer is I can't. You may not know it, but you were actually one of my most valuable students. Here's how. You were my go-to guy. When everyone else was working, yeah, occasionally that meant you too, and I needed something done, whether it was running some paperwork up to the office, being a service writer, filling out an inspection form, or even going to go get a tool. You were there, and you took that assignment with absolutely no complaint. So how do I sum you up in words? I have two that come to mind. Thank you. Gio, good Lord, smile on this guy and keep him safe. Every time you talk to me about County 19, Rocky Point, Ogulfo, didn't matter. I couldn't help but think, if he tells his mother these things, I'm going to recommend her for sainthood for not sending him to the pearly gates herself. You have a very adventurous, if at times a tad hazardous spirit. To be brutally honest, you scare me. Not because you that hazardous spirit, but because the more I got to know you, the more I realized, holy crap, he is just like me when I was his age. Don't change a thing. Keep life exciting. Just invest in a roll cage, 5-point harness, maybe a helmet. Ricardo, I can honestly say I have never had a student put so much extra work in just for funsies. If I could give an MVP award for 2019-2020, I'd give it to you. Seriously, thank you for all of the extra time in the mornings, helping me get set up, and at the end of the day, helping 6th period and myself with any late and last minute repairs. I don't give my recommendation for career ready upon graduation easily. In fact, I'd say you are the first and only one I've given this to. Put me down as a reference as on a job application, anywhere you want. Let me know, and I'll send a letter of recommendation. I'll even call and give them a heads up and tell them in person if that's what you need. Jared, what someone drives says a lot about them. So let's talk Kia. Boring, basic, practical, Korean made. Then I saw yours, although I didn't know it was yours at first. My first thought was when I saw it, that's a pretty badass Kia. Someone's got a talented imagination. You took a basic, bland car and with a few simple modifications turned it into a pretty cool looking rig. That creativity is extremely valuable. Yeah, you got a K15 now and it's kind of cool, sure, but it was already cool. That Kia was made cool. The whole reference to built, not bought argument applies to you. Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. Albert Einstein said that. And you're a living motto of that. Catherine, don't tell the guys this, but you're actually smarter than them. Shh. Most of them anyway. How do I know this? Because you hardly ever showed up to class. And yet, whenever you would show up to class, we'd have an assignment, a test, a quiz. You'd ace it every single time. I don't know how you did it. One of two things. A, witchcraft and wizardry. Okay, well that's kind of two. But... Or B, you're actually a genius. Until I see you doing some magic tricks, I'm going to go with the latter. If you take anything from this last year, let it be, don't be afraid to strike out on your own. Sometimes we got people in our lives, either at their fault or ours or no one's, that'll hold us back from our true potential. It's not selfish to become self-sufficient, especially when you're just starting out on your own. Well, that and get a better alarm clock. Aries, my right-hand man for the last 3 years. Some students I worry about. Are they going to find a job? Are they going to end up in an early grave? Are they going to get hooked on drugs? Is he going to transmorph into mom's couch playing Fortnite? I can honestly say with you, I got no worries. We talked about your future career options, working in the HVAC industry or joining Coast Guard. Notice how being an auto mechanic wasn't one of them. I did, but I don't mind. Because whatever you do, you're going to be great at it. You can flip burgers, and I'm confident within a year you're going to own the joint. Or you're going to make it all the way up to corporate. Just to be clear though, don't do that. Stick with your original plan A's. For these past few months, they've been difficult for most. Fortnite for others. Flat out insanity for the rest of us. But the most important thing to take away from this is family. You don't get to pick your family, but you have to love them just the same. I'm sure having been stuck with them relentlessly and their annoying habits for the last 2 months, you would beg to differ. But let's put it in the long view. From the moment you're born until the moment you start school, you're with your family. It's a good solid 6 years-ish, give or take a few months. I know that because I Googled it. Google never lies. From then on until you turn 18, you're in school for about 8 hours a day, sleeping 8 to 9 hours a day. That gives you another 8 hours to spend. By the time you get to high school, though, your choice with that 8 hours extra to spend gets divided up between sports, work, friends, or relationships. There isn't much time comparatively for family. After high school, this time gets even more finite as you venture out to start your own life. You could find that time with those family members at an abundant 24 hours in a year. Christmas, most likely. Maybe Thanksgiving if you're lucky. This quarantine has frustrated and depressed many people into thinking that they're in a prison with their families because of social distancing. Instead of using this time as a prison sentence, change your mindset, make it an opportunity to catch up on time that you will never get back. Believe me, nothing hurts more than realizing you could have spent more time with your loved ones, but chose not to, in the belief that there will be time for that later. Later comes, and you find that time's just gone. You can't get it back. So turn to mom, dad, grandpa, brother, sister, dog, whoever's in the house with you, give them a hug. Have a chat, play a cheesy board game, learn how to bake together, knit. It doesn't matter just as long as you're together. Enjoy this time together because it's going to be over before you know it, just like this whole quarantine. After this quarantine ends, you guys are going to have to strike out on your own. Some of you are already striking out on your own regardless of the quarantine, and that's okay as long as you're being safe. But once you guys actually strike out on your own and you're successful, you're going to be so caught up in your own lives that your home family might get put on the back burner. Don't forget about them. While you're making your mark on the world and you're conquering the world, as some of my minions have already done, just don't forget about those little people that brought you up from the time that you were first born to 6 years old.